Hey guys. This is part 10 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by the Goddess Artemis. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 5. Delve into the Labyrinth. Spirits milled about the area. They were desperate to taste the soupy mixture that Nico had concocted for the ritual. Yet one spirit stood in front of the boy. "I am Theseus." The spirit introduced himself. Nico steeled himself. Calling on the dead like this scared him, but he had to. He still didn't trust this ghost guiding him. He had to ask for a second opinion, so to speak. "How can I retrieve my sister?" Theseus's eyes were lifeless as glass. "Do not try. It is madness. Just tell me." "My stepfather died," Theseus remembered. "He threw himself into the sea because he thought I was dead in the labyrinth. I wanted to bring him back, but I could not." Nico's ghost hissed. "My lord, the soul exchange. Ask him about that." Theseus scowled. "That voice. I know that voice." "No, you don't, fool," the ghost said. "Answer the Lord's questions and nothing more." "I know you," Theseus insisted, as if struggling to recall. "I want to hear about my sister," Nico said. "Will this quest into the labyrinth help me win her back?" Theseus was looking for the ghost, but apparently couldn't see him. Slowly he turned his eyes back on Nico. "The labyrinth is treacherous. There is only one thing that saw me through, the love of a mortal girl. The string was only part of the answer. It was the princess who guided me." "We don't need any of that," the ghost said. "I will guide you, my lord. Ask him if it is true about an exchange of souls. He will tell you." "A soul for a soul?" Nico asked. "Is it true?" I must say yes." "But the specter, just answer the questions, knave," the ghost said. Suddenly, around the edges of the pool, the other ghosts became restless. They stirred, whispering in nervous tones. "I want to see my sister," Nico demanded. "Where is she?" "He is coming," Theseus said fearfully. "He has sensed your summons. He comes." "Who?" Nico demanded. "He comes to find the source of this power," Theseus said. "You must release us, Cabin 8, and that's it." Bianca finished narrating. "I see," Naruto said, zipping up the bag he kept his things for the trip. From the start, this prophecy seemed fishy. The Ghost King, hopefully that is Nico. "Naruto, please," Bianca pleaded. "He's probably scared out there. He's trying to find me. I don't know how or why, but he's hurting." Naruto smiled. "What's so funny?" Bianca snapped. "No, it's nothing. It's just that I can still remember Nico asking me the same thing last winter," Naruto said. He raised his thumb into a nice guy pose. "Don't worry. I swear it on my ninja way. We'll come back with Nico." Bianca beamed with happiness. In her elation, she dove and wrapped Naruto in a hug. "Thank you?" Naruto chuckled. All right. We better go or we might miss the quest." And so, Naruto and Bianca walked towards Zeus Fist, which was a weird place to start a quest. You see, normally, questers would meet up at Talia's pine tree up on Half-Blood Hill where the head of security would escort them to the nearest bus station, but we have, let's say, special circumstances. It was a clear morning, the blue sky shone over the horizon. Apollo was early today to rev up the sun chariot this time of the year. And with the new camp counselor, the campers were awake this early into the day to start the training. Between you and me, even Kakashi was up early. Naruto and Bianca made it to their destination. Juniper and Grover were the first to get there. Juniper had been crying again. She tried to keep it together for the satyr's sake, but she couldn't help it. She fussed over him. She straightened the Rasta cap, brushing fur off of his shirt. Charles Beckendorf was also camping there with a few of his siblings. He was joined by the twin counselors of the Hermes cabin. Chiron figured that the boys' energy setting up pranks for their fellow campers should be redirected to the defense of their camp. Annabeth came next. She looked terrible. It looked like she had a dream last night. "What's wrong?" Naruto asked. "Dream," she yawned. "Will you be okay?" Naruto said in concern. "I'll manage." Tyson and Percy came in last. "It seems you are ready." Chirpin trotted over. There's something I should tell you guys," Percy spoke up. Last night, Percy said, I dreamed about Luke and Kronos. The news seemed to weigh on Chiron's shoulders as Percy began to narrate the details of his vision. I feared this, Chiron said. Against my father Kronos, we would stand no chance in a fight. I know. How can the trainer of heroes be related to a Titan, the enemy and predecessors of the gods? It may be hard to believe, since the old horse himself had never referred to the Titan as his father. Do you think they're trying to get Daedalus on their side as well? Naruto asked. I don't know why I saw right on the start of this quest, but that is what I would assume, Percy said. Plus, that golden sarcophagus aboard the Princess Andromeda. He said they would make Kronos a new body, worthy of the forges of Hephaestus. All the more reason for us to succeed then. Chiron changed the subject. And one more thing, this talk about one last soul joining their side. This does not bode well. Bianca's eyes widened. You don't think they'll be targeting Nico? It would make sense, my girl, Chiron answered. He has hatred for this camp since he believed that Naruto and Percy here allowed you to die. He would be a prime target for the Titan army to get on their side. We will encounter him on this quest. Naruto spoke up. When we do, we will make sure that we save him and get him back on our side. In any case, I trust that all 5 of you will return to camp after this quest. Good hunting. Chiron wished the quest team good luck. Grover stared at the crack in the ground. He sighed and said nervously, Goodbye, sunshine. Hello, rocks, Tyson added. Naruto waved goodbye to Bianca, who was looking at them anxiously at the quest team. Soon they were swallowed by the ground and delved into the labyrinth. Line break, Naruto did not have night vision. Let us make that perfectly clear. But somehow, some parts of the wall were glowing. Well, not so much as glowing, but it was more like the pathways were somehow brighter than the rest. It was so faint that you wouldn't even notice. He looked both ways at the narrow tunnel. Let's keep to the left wall, that way we can easily backtrack, Annabeth suggested. And true to the living maze's name, the left wall disappeared. They now found themselves in a circular chamber with 8 different passageways. This maze is screwing with us, Naruto sighed. He eyed each passageway carefully. They looked exactly the same. Which way did we come in? Grover asked. Just turn around, Annabeth said. Each of them were faced with a tunnel of their own. Left walls are mean. Tyson shook his head. Which way now? Since Naruto's cheat sheet wasn't working on him right now, he had to rely on his brains. Oldest architecture? Oldest architecture, Annabeth agreed. Wait, are you both guessing? Percy demanded incredulously. Of course not. Naruto calmed his brother down. It's deductive reasoning. Isn't that the same thing? Percy still couldn't believe it. Look, Percy, guessing is what you do on your exams when you don't know the answer, Annabeth explained while taking a jab at the son of Poseidon. Deductive reasoning is when you try to narrow them down. Percy gave her a slight glare. I know that much. Look, there's no need to argue. Naruto tried to play peacekeeper. Here's the thing. Naruto pointed to 2 of the tunnels. If you look closely, those 2 have the oldest architecture out of the 8. So which one do we choose? Percy asked. Easy. Naruto raised his finger into an all too familiar hand sign. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 identical clones popped into existence. There are 3 Narutos. Tyson screamed in glee. Didn't show this yet, did I? Naruto smirked. Without even a word from Naruto, the 2 of them disappeared in a swirl of leaves. That's new, Grover commented. That's a shunshin. In essence, you just move really, really fast, Naruto explained. What happens now? Tyson asked. We just have to wait, Naruto answered with his eyes closed. In a few seconds, the shinobi's eyes opened. He pointed to the tunnel closer to them. This one's rigged, while the other one narrows considerably. Which means we're going here. Annabeth pointed to the safer one. Lead the way, Captain, Naruto said and followed her, with the rest of their crew not too far behind. Just as Naruto said, the wall narrowed pretty quickly. Per Tyson, he was forced to crawl through the narrow walkways. The only sounds they could hear was Grover's hyperventilating. I can't stand this anymore, the goat boy complained. Are we there yet? We've been here for barely 5 minutes. Of course we aren't there yet, Annabeth told him. It's been longer than that, Grover insisted. And why would Pan be down here? This is the opposite of the wild. Figures, these magical places always mess with our sense of time, don't they? Naruto commented. Percy also spoke up. Hey, nobody said Pan was down here, right? We're only using the maze as a way to get to Pan in the short amount of time that we have. Grover sighed. You're right. The group kept shuffling forward, crawling in the case of Tyson. But just when you would expect the walls to narrow that none of the crew would be able to fit, the tunnel opened into a huge room. Percy uncapped Riptide, whose glow illuminated the dark and dank halls. Whoa! Was the only thing that escaped the questers' lips. They were in a once gorgeous room. Mosaic tiles covered the room. There were grimy pictures decorating the walls, but despite the dirt, you could still make out the colors peeking from underneath. There was a frieze that depicted the 12 Olympian gods at a feast. There was Poseidon holding out a plump cluster of grapes over to a lean and muscular man who was turning them into wine. They figured the latter was Dionysus. Zeus was partying with a herd of satyrs, while Hermes zipped across the sky with his winged shoes. A bit idealistic, don't you think? Naruto commented. Grover and Annabeth looked at Naruto with wide eyes. The gods might take offense to that. Annabeth scolded. Naruto just shrugged. He was right, of course. They have seen the gods in person, almost gotten killed by them even. The depiction of Dionysus, for example. The campers see Mr. D every day, and he most certainly did not look like that. To put it mildly, he really let himself go. And oh yeah, on a minor note, Hermes' nose did not look that big. Anyway, in the middle of the room, there was a three-tiered fountain. It looked like it hadn't had the taste of water for a long time. This place looks Roman, Percy commented. I agree, Annabeth nodded. They're almost 2,000 years old. They're not old, but not as old as we want them to be. How can we be looking at Roman architecture? We'd have to be miles away from Long Island for that, Percy asked. The labyrinth is a patchwork, Annabeth said. I told you, it's always expanding, adding pieces. It's the only work of architecture that grows by itself. You make it sound like it's alive, Percy said. It is, Naruto answered. Can we not talk about being alive? Grover pleaded. To illustrate his point, a groaning sound was heard from the tunnel in front of them. Okay then, Annabeth said. We continue forward. Towards the bad sounds? Tyson asked. Even he was sounding nervous now. Annabeth nodded. The architecture is becoming older. That is a good sign, right? Naruto answered and walked alongside Annabeth. As they surged on forward, the maze toyed with them. The architecture slowly shifted to cement with brass pipes running down the sides. There was also spray-painted graffiti, neon tagger sign read MOZRULZ. I'm thinking this is not Roman, Percy said helpfully. Annabeth took a deep breath, then forged ahead. Every few feet the tunnels twisted and turned and branched off. The floor beneath them was ever-changing. It would switch from cement to mud to bricks and back again. There was no sense to any of it. Eventually, they stumbled into a wine cellar, a bunch of dusty bottles and wooden racks, like those found in the basement of old pubs, only there was no exit leading upstairs. There were only more tunnels leading on. Later, they were in another room with wooden planks as a ceiling. It was so small that their heads were touching the wooden boards. There was a tiny hole on the wood with light streaming out of it. Percy peeked into the hole, just to get a sense of where they were. Pink? The son of Poseidon stated what he saw from the hole. What are you talking about? Annabeth asked, as he pushed Percy out of the way. She peered into the hole just to see for herself. She turned pink from what she saw. It was a pair of legs, and further up, I guess you can see where I'm going here. She immediately pulled back and gave Percy a scandalized look. Percy returned it with a clueless expression. Why? What did I do wrong? Grover was about to peek too, but Annabeth pulled him along out to the tunnel awaiting them. They were going at a brisk pace until the daughter of Athena was startled, this time by a human skeleton lying on the cold floor. She managed to calm down as soon as the rest of the group caught up with them. That's a milkman, Percy answered. Mom used to tell me about them. That was when she was young, like 1,000,000 years ago, but what is he doing here? Some people wander in by mistake, Annabeth said. Some come exploring on purpose and never make it back. A long time ago, the Cretans sent people in here as human sacrifices. Grover gulped. He's been down here a long time. I hope we don't turn out like him. Don't worry, goat boy, Tyson comforted. We will get out. It's not that worries me. It's just that everywhere smells like monsters. Grover shivered. Tyson nodded. I smell that too, but underground smells like monsters and dead milk people, he said, staring at the bony corpse. I know that. But it doesn't make it any less scary, Grover said. That's why we're a team here. Naruto spoke up to calm his friends. Let's go. There's no use crying over spilled milk. But the milk is not spilled, Tyson pointed out cluelessly. Big guy. He meant not to complain about things we have no control over, things we can't change anymore, Percy explained. Oh, Tyson had a look of realization on his face. Like Mr. Dead Milk Guy? Percy nodded. Yes, like Mr. Dead Milk Guy. Ready? Annabeth asked her team. There were nods all around. Annabeth led the team back into the tunnels. She led them to the left, then to the right, through some kind of air shaft. Ultimately, they made it back to the Roman tile room. This time, they weren't alone. It was a man with two faces. Yes, two faces. They jutted out from either side of his head, staring over his shoulders, so his head was much wider than it should have been, kind of like a hammerhead shark. He was dressed like a New York City doorman, a long black overcoat, shiny shoes, and a black top hat that somehow managed to stay on his double-wide head. Well, Annabeth? Said his left face. Hurry up! Don't mind him, said the right face. He's terribly rude. Right this way, miss. Annabeth's jaw dropped. I don't. Tyson frowned. That funny man has two faces. The funny man has ears, you know, the left face scolded. Now come along, miss. No, the right face said. This way, miss. Talk to me, please. The two-faced man regarded Annabeth as best he could out of the corners of his eyes. It was impossible to look at him straight on without focusing on one side or the other. Lord Janus. Naruto respectfully cut in the conversation. With all due respect, there's no need to pressure Annabeth like this. Ah, son of Diana. The left face greeted. No, he is obviously the son of Artemis. The right face argued. Your senses are dull. The left face shot back again. No, you are just blind. The right face insulted back. A lord? Naruto but in the conversation again. Why are you here exactly? To present Annabeth her choices, of course. The two heads said in unison. Choices? The girl in question stepped forward. The two-faced man waved his hand. Behind the group, the tunnel they came from disappeared, replaced by more mosaic tiles. And in front of them, there were now two wooden doors with large iron locks. The questers were sure that it wasn't there the first time they came around this room, but the frieze of the gods suggested that this was the same room they had entered earlier. The doorman held a silver key, which he kept passing from his left hand to his right hand. These, young lady, are your choices. The two faces presented in unison. One probably leads to your destination. The left face said cryptically, while the other, certain death. The right face smiled. You're in charge now, my dear. All the decisions are on your shoulders. That's what you wanted, isn't it? Aye, we know you, Annabeth. The left face said. We know what you wrestle with every day. We know your indecision. You will have to make your choice sooner or later. And the choice may kill you. Look, I don't know who you are, but why are you causing trouble here? Percy raised his voice. Oh, but we know you, Percy Jackson. Janus Two Faces spoke harmoniously. You will get your turn soon enough. But for now, it's Annabeth's turn. Let's have some fun. The right face blurted out. Shut up. His left face said. This is serious. One bad choice can ruin your whole life. It can kill you and all of your friends. But no pressure, Annabeth. Choose. Annabeth started considering her choices. Annabeth, you know you don't have to do this, right? Naruto advice. I'm afraid she has to. The right face said cheerfully. Annabeth moistened her lips. I chose. Before she could point to a door, a brilliant light flooded the room. Janus raised his hands to either side of his head to cover his eyes. When the light died, a woman was standing at the fountain. She was tall and graceful with long hair the color of chocolate, braided in plaits with gold ribbons. She wore a simple white dress, but when she moved, the fabric shimmered with colors like oil on water. Janus, she said, are we causing trouble again? And no, milady. Janus's right face stammered. Yes, the left face said. Shut up, the right face said. Excuse me? The woman asked. Not you, milady. I was talking to myself. I see, the lady said. You know very well your visit is premature. The girl's time has not yet come. So I give you a choice. Leave these heroes to me, or I shall turn you into a door and break you down. What kind of door? The left face asked. Shut up, the right face said. Because French doors are nice. The left face mused. Lots of natural light. Shut up, the right face wailed. Not you, milady. Of course I'll leave. I was just having a bit of fun. Doing my job. Offering choices. Causing indecision. The woman corrected. Now be gone. The left face muttered. Party power. Then he raised his silver key, inserted it into the air, and disappeared. The woman turned toward us, and fear closed around my heart. Her eyes shone with power. Leave these heroes to me. That didn't sound good. But then the woman smiled. You must be hungry, she said. Sit with me and talk. She waved her hand, and the old Roman fountain began to flow. Jets of clear water sprayed into the air. A marble table appeared, laden with platters of sandwiches and pitchers of lemonade. Who are you? I asked. I am Hera. The woman smiled. Queen of Heaven. Chapter 6. Meeting your role models. The place was dark and dank, but when this godly woman appeared, the room came to life. Jets sprayed from the fountain even though you would think that the pipes had not held water in a long time. A marble table appeared from thin air, laden with platters of sandwiches and pitchers of lemonade, along with an out-of-place bowl of ramen. Who are you? Percy asked the woman, not really trusting anyone who just appeared out of nowhere at this point. I am Hera, Queen of the Heavens. She introduced herself like only the Queen of Olympus could. We met at the winter solstice last year, but it is nice to finally meet you all without the formalities. There was a long pause. There was a lag in their brains as they tried to comprehend what was happening. What are you waiting for? She raised her hands out and gestured at the food around them. Dig in, dear children. When everyone started to notice their surroundings, they were sitting around the table, with Naruto specifically sitting in front of the steaming bowl of ramen that smelled exactly like his favorite ramen stand in the elemental nations. They studied their food warily. It was only natural. After all, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But their needs got the better of them, and they slowly started to dig into the food. I assume you have some questions for me? She asked with a smile as she watched the children start to consume her offered food. Don't you want to kill us? Percy crudely asked, learning an elbow from Annabeth. What Percy meant, milady, was don't you hate demigods? Annabeth corrected with much more respect in her tone. The goddess scoffed. What gave you that idea? My little spat with Heracles? Honestly, I got so much bad press because of one disagreement. A disagreement? Naruto raised his eyebrows. Didn't you try to kill him, not just once? Hera waved her hands dismissively like they were talking about something minor, not multiple attempts at murder. That's water under the bridge. I admit I may have lost my patience back then. Besides, we had sorted out our issues in marriage counseling. We came to an agreement, most especially after that last incident. The demigods understood who she was referring to, but Percy just had to open his mouth to verify what he knew. It was Talia, right? Or was there someone else? Hera shot him a frosty look that left Percy to shiver under her gaze. She studied the son of Poseidon. Percy Jackson, one of my brother's children. If I recall correctly, I voted to let you and your friend here live. I hope you don't disappoint me. So, if you're not here to kill us, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. Her expression returned to the motherly smile. Even though my dear husband refuses to see his daughter's reasoning for the impending war, it is inevitable at this point. Janus and the other minor gods had already started to cause trouble around. Don't the minor gods support Olympus? Naruto knitted his eyebrows. Some do, but there are still those who are frustrated at the small parts they play in the universe, the Queen of the Heavens said. I fear some might have already defected to my father's side. That's where Mr. D went, right? To make sure they are still loyal to Olympus? Naruto asked. He remembered hearing about Mr. D leaving for a bit. Hera just confirmed the true purpose of Mr. D's temporary departure. Indeed. Janus, Hecate, and Morpheus, they still sing Olympus's praises, but who knows where their loyalties lie now? Hera stared at the faded mosaic. Believe it or not, even gods can lose faith. They start putting trust in the wrong things. They stop looking at the big picture and start being selfish. As the goddess of marriage, I am used to all the quarreling and squabbling. Look at my own relationship. You have to rise above it and keep your goals in mind. Annabeth was confused. Hera was sounding like those motivational speakers or something. It was just surprising to hear this coming from a god. What are your goals? She asked, getting curious. She smiled. To keep my family whole, of course. At the moment, the best way I can do that is to help you. Zeus doesn't let any of us interfere that much, but once in a century or so, he allows me to grant a wish for a quest I care deeply about. Naruto was suspicious of this. He knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch, especially if it was from the gods. So, what's the catch? Or will you have us do something in between the quest? Naruto asked, expecting something to be asked of them or some kind of consequence. Oh, there's no catch. Hera shook her head. All I ask is you succeed in the quest, so my family can stay together. Now, daughter of Athena, I know you are the leader of this quest. What do you wish? Annabeth thought deeply. Whatever she was going to ask, it must be extremely helpful to this quest. Before you ask, child, a bit of advice. This, I assure you, is also for free. Hera said, giving Naruto a look of assurance. You delve into the labyrinth to look for its creator. His creation and his invention are of great mystery to me as it is to you. But if you need information on him, seek out my son. There's no one else who favored the great inventor more than my son, Hephaestus. It was like Daedalus was after his heart, and in turn, he was admired by the god of forges. If there is anyone who has kept up with his fate, it would be my son. Then I know what to ask. Annabeth looked decided. I need a way to navigate the labyrinth. The goddess of marriage looked disappointed. You ask for it, but you do not realize that the means is already within your grasp. My brother's son knows the answer. Everyone turned to Percy. You do? Don't look at me. The said demigod protested. I don't know what she is talking about. That's not fair. Annabeth complained. I don't know what it is yet, child. Getting something and having the wits to use it are two different things. Despite being underground, the room shook from distant thunder. That would be my cue. Zeus grows as impatient as usual. Think about what I said. Seek out Hephaestus. I imagine you will have to pass through the ranch. Use all the means at your disposal, however common they may seem. You are already in good hands. She pointed towards the twin doors, and they were replaced by twin corridors. The goddess shimmered. I have not taken away your day of choice, child of Athena. I have merely postponed it. Soon you will inevitably have to make it. Farewell. As soon as she said that, she disappeared into smoke, along with the food and last sandwich that Tyson threw into his mouth. The fountain ceased to function once again and returned to the way it was when they first came into the room. The ambience disappeared. It wasn't a place you would want to have your picnic. Annabeth stomped her foot in frustration. What kind of help was that? Here, have a sandwich, make a wish. Oops, sorry, I can't help you, poof, she said in a poor copy of the goddess of marriage. Poof. Tyson dittoed as he stared at the empty plates in sadness. We aren't completely empty-handed, Grover said, looking at the bright side, which was weird considering how he was acting earlier. According to her, Percy knows something. I swear I don't know what she was talking about. The son of Poseidon tried to convince his friends. Well, there's only one thing left to do, right, Annie? Naruto told their quest leader. The said girl puffed her cheeks in annoyance at the nickname. I told you not to call me that. But Naruto is right. We have to keep going. But which way? Grover asked. Naruto studied the doorways in hopes that he may differentiate the two like the times earlier. But he wasn't able to inspect them carefully. The satyr and the Cyclops tensed and stood up at the same time. Left, they both said in a panic. Naruto's eyes widened. They're right. We have to go. Together, they plunged into the left corridor, not wanting to find out what was coming. Good news. There were no twists, turns, or side exits. Bad news. The exit of the almost 100-meter corridor was blocked by an enormous boulder. Tyson! Naruto called out as he reared his fist back ready to strike. Together, they slammed into the boulder, and it crumbled down, revealing a doorway. Without further thinking, they entered the room. They never could catch a breath, though. Before they could sigh in relief, the dragging footsteps grew louder. Whatever was coming from the right corridor earlier followed them through the left one. "Hurry, seal it!" Annabeth said in a panic. Naruto blurred into a series of hand signs and the tunnel shook again. A slab of dirt rose from the ground and filled in the gap of the doorway, sealing it. And just as anyone would expect from a sentient maze like this one, the walls blended with slab of earth, making it like it was part of the walls in the first place. Block of force slammed into the newly formed wall. Whatever was chasing them tried to take the wall down to get to them. Seeing nothing happen, the creature wailed in frustration. "We're good." Naruto fell down on his but relieved that they were able to escape. "It's trapped." Percy did the same, sighing in relief. Maybe we are the ones trapped," Grover said pessimistically. Everyone turned to look at the room behind them. It was a 20-foot cement room and the opposite wall was covered in metal bars. They were inside a cell. "What in the Hades?" Annabeth tried tugging at the bars. They were sealed shut. Beyond the cell doors that blocked them off from leaving, there were other rows of cells in a ring around a dark courtyard. There were at least 3 stories of metal doors and metal catwalks. It was clear. They were in some kind of abandoned prison complex. "Tyson, could you?" Percy was about to ask the big guy to break them out of their cell, but Grover shushed him. "Listen!" Grover ordered. "He's right," Naruto agreed. "I hear something too." The place was supposedly abandoned, but they heard a deep sobbing echoing through the complex. There was another sound too that came with it. None of them could make out what was being said. All they could hear was rasping, like whoever was talking smoked a ton of cigarettes in his/her lifetime. "Can anyone understand this?" Percy asked, hoping that any of his friends could understand. He admittedly wasn't particularly good at ancient Greek, only picking up a few phrases when heard aloud, so he figured it was just that, and he didn't get anything. Naruto and Annabeth shook their heads. Even they did not understand. They concluded it was another. Maybe Latin? No, it was something older. "It can't be!" Tyson's eyes widened. It would appear that he recognized this language. "Wait!" Grover called out as the Cyclops started to walk to the bars. But Tyson wasn't about to wait for them. He pried the bars open like it was made of silly string. They ran after him through the dark prison. There was almost no light except for a few dim fluorescent lights flickering in the ceiling high above. As they chased after him, Annabeth gained a look of realization. "Wait, I know this place." "How do you know a prison?" Percy asked. "Our class went for a field trip here once," Annabeth remembered. "This is Alcatraz, the island off the coast of San Francisco," Naruto added. "They made it a museum, right?" Annabeth nodded. They kept chasing Tyson through the catwalks of the prison when Grover suddenly yelled, "Freeze!" It was so sudden that everyone almost toppled over. Tyson didn't stop though. He kept going, but Naruto yanked Tyson's hand, pulling him to where the others had chosen to hide. "Why did you stop me?" Tyson asked in a pleading tone. Whatever he wanted to go to, he was pretty keen on going to it. Naruto got in place at their hiding spot. He peeked, and Naruto felt uneasy. Across the courtyard, on the second-floor balcony, was probably the most horrible Naruto had faced in his entire demigod career. The monster was almost like a centaur, but instead of the lower half of a horse, this thing had the lower half of a dragon. It was at least 20 feet long, black and scaly with enormous claws and a barbed tail. Her feet reminded them of the Gorgons. There were hundreds of vipers darting around, constantly looking for something to bite. The most striking thing was the woman's waist. The part where the dragon part met the human, bubbled, and morphed into various animals. It went from the head of a bear to a lion to a wolf. As big of a guy he is, Tyson was scared. "It's her," he whimpered. They listened in on the conversation. It was clearer now than they were closer, but that didn't mean they understood what was being said. It sounded like a weird rumbling language. "What language is that?" It was Percy who voiced everyone's question. "The tongue of the old times," Tyson said nervously. "It was what Mother Earth spoke to her children, the Titans and Elder Cyclopes. Even before the gods were born." "Can you translate?" Naruto asked. Tyson didn't say anything. He closed his eyes and opened his mouth to speak, but when he did, it wasn't his voice anymore. It was the raspy voice of the giant creature, except it was speaking their language. "You will work for the master or suffer," Tyson said, mimicking the voice. "I hate it when he does that." Annabeth shuddered, trying to forget a distant traumatic memory. "I will not serve." His voice changed to a deep, pained one. Then I shall enjoy your pain, Briars. His voice reverted back to the raspy one. His voice hitched at the mention of the name. Percy had never heard Tyson break character while he was mimicking voices, but this time he let out a strangled gulp and continued in the monster's voice. If you thought your first imprisonment was unbearable, you have yet to feel true torment. Think about that until I return. Whoever that was tromped towards the stairwell, her vipers hissing around her legs like a grass skirt. She spread her wings, something that surprised our heroes. They were massive bat-like wings that she kept folded against her back. She leaped over the catwalk and soared across the courtyard, hot sulphurous air blasting the demigods in the face as they crouched lower into the shadows. Horrible. Grover stuttered. I've never smelled any monster that strong. That was Camp, Tyson said. The Cyclope's worst nightmare. Naruto nodded. I remember the stories. She was the Cyclope's jailer during the rule of the Titans. She's sadistic, torturing your brothers and the Hecatonkers like that. Mommy Cyclopes used to scare baby Cyclopes with her stories if we were naughty, Tyson added. Back up, back up. Percy waved his hands out in front of him. What's a heca-something? Hecatonkires? Annabeth pronounced each word syllable for the son of Poseidon to understand. Or you can call them the 100-handed ones. They're called that because, well, they have 100 hands. Duh. Ow. Naruto let out earning a punch from the daughter of Athena. Naruto just hugged her playfully as an apology, causing the girl to get red-faced. Ahem. She cleared her throat as she recovered from Naruto's actions. Anyway, they were the Cyclope's older brothers. Very powerful, Tyson said with a gleam in his eye. As tall as the sky, so strong they could break mountains. And Briars? Naruto inquired. Do you know him personally? We Cyclopes look up to our big brothers. Tyson continued in a happy tone. Can we go see him? Annabeth looked at the skies above them, then to the cell where the Hecatonkia was staying. She too was curious to see why someone like Briars would act like this. She turned to his friends. All right, I think we have time to go and take a quick peek before Camp comes back. They approached the cell. The weeping sounds got louder. This time, they were able to see what creature was making the noise. It was a human-sized creature with pale skin, as pale as the color of milk. He was wearing a loincloth like a big diaper. His feet were too big for his body, with 8 toes on each foot, each with cracked and dirty toenails. The upper part was the weird part. To be honest, Janus was pretty tame when compared to this. From his chest sprouted hundreds of arms, living up to his name. There were so many arms, all of them tangled and twirled together. Several of them covered the creature's face as he sobbed. So much for being tall enough to reach the sky, Naruto said. Tyson didn't mind the blonde's snarky remark. He just fell to his knees, calling out the creature's name. Briars! The Cyclops called out. The sobbing stopped to regard what the Cyclops had to say to his older brother. Oh, great 100-handed one, Tyson pleaded. Help us! Briars looked up, his face long and sad. His nose was crooked and his teeth were bad. His eyes were completely brown, no white sclera or black pupils, like his eyes were formed out of clay. Run while you can, young Cyclops, he said miserably. I cannot even help myself. You are a 100-handed one, Tyson argued. You can do anything. Briars wiped his nose with 5 or 6 hands. Naruto watched in awe as several others fidgeted with bits and pieces of scrap metal and wood from a nearby bed. It was simply amazing to watch as his hands built small toys almost like they had minds of their own. His other hands were scratching the cement floor. Some played rock, paper, scissors, reminding Naruto of the days he spent in Konoha playing cards by himself. Still, others made shadow puppets on the wall. If Briars were in a band, he could play all instruments on his own. I cannot, Briars moaned. Camp is back. The Titans are rising. We will for sure be thrown back into Tartarus. Put on your brave face, Tyson advised. Percy watched Briars struggle a bit. Then, his face morphed into something else. There were the same brown eyes, but the other features were different. He had an upturned nose, arched eyebrows, and a weird smile that looked creepy with the straining that he was doing. He didn't even hold it for a second, and just like that, it returned to what they had seen before. Briars shook his head. No good, my scared face keeps coming back. Wow! If Percy wasn't impressed by the hands with minds of their own, this did the trick. How did you do that? That just earned an elbow from Annabeth. Don't be rude, she scolded. They have around 50 different faces. Must be hard to get a yearbook picture, Percy commented. Like you already tried to take one. Naruto teased his best friend. Hey! I resent that. The son of Poseidon protested. I already tried taking one in Merryweather. I'm surprised you lasted a whole year there. Naruto kept on the tease. Hey! I would have stayed longer if Mr. Blowfish didn't find a better school for me, Percy argued. Naruto tried to argue back, but both he and Percy were socked on the arm by a very irritated Annabeth. Now's not the time for that. She shushed him. Percy just stuck out his tongue while Naruto made a face. Tyson wasn't bothered by the two demigods bickering. He was still entranced at the thought of meeting one of his heroes. It will be okay, Briars. We will help you. Can I have your autograph? Naruto and Percy's sweat dropped. They were amazed at how Tyson could say that all in one breath, and at such a transition as well. Do you have 100 pens? The Hecatonkers asked. Can we deal with that later? Grover whimpered. Camp will be back sooner or later. We have to get out of here. Tyson, break the bars so he can get out, Naruto said. Briars can do it. Tyson smiled proudly. 100-handed ones are much stronger than Cyclopes. If he's so strong, then why is he stuck in jail? Percy asked again like that wasn't an insult. Annabeth elbowed him again. This time in the ribs. You are being so rude today, she spoke. He's terrified right now. How would you feel if you were tortured and imprisoned by Camp for 1,000 years? Fine. Percy nursed his aching rib cage. I get it. Briars covered his face again after hearing Annabeth's scolding. What's wrong, Briars? Tyson asked in concern. Show us your great strength. Naruto placed a hand on the young Cyclops' shoulder. I think it's better if you did it, big guy. The happiness in Tyson's face slowly melted away. Without another word, Tyson ripped the metal doors off their hinges like they were made of clay. Come on, Briars. Annabeth held out a hand. Let's get you out of there. For a slow second, his face morphed into that of a hopeful expression. Several of his arms slowly reached out to reach for her, but twice as many shot out to slap them away. I cannot. He once again returned to his terrified face. She will punish me. Don't think like that. Naruto spoke up. You fought the Titans before, isn't that right? Do you remember the outcome? The war. Briars reminisced on the days he and the gods fought the Titans. He remembered hurling rocks, then lightning shook the earth. We won, but just barely. Now they are getting stronger. They have all the more chance to win this time around. Naruto sighed. It was hard passing on his optimism to someone as pessimistic as this one. Percy stepped forward. Naruto felt that this was one of his adoptive brother's glimmers of brilliance. Then let's make a bet, Percy said smugly. Everyone looked at him like he grew a second head. Percy, what are you? Annabeth tried to stop Percy, but Naruto held up his hand. I think this will work, Naruto said with a confident smirk. Percy pounded his fist on an open palm 3 times. Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Briars looked at the son of Poseidon, his face morphing into his doubtful face. What's the use? I always win rock, paper, scissors. I think you'll this game very interesting, Naruto added, remembering that particular game that even he did not win, depending on how you look at it. Fine, what are the conditions? Briar's face showed that of curiosity. 1 game of rock, paper, scissors, Percy stated. If I win, you come with us. If I lose, we leave you here, and we won't try to convince you to leave this jail anymore. Tyson looked at him incredulously, but Naruto placed a hand of reassurance on his shoulder. The 2 players readied their hands. Percy repeated his motion with his right hand over his left palm. Briars did the same, except his 100 hands sounded like a whole army marching ready for battle. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot! They both shouted. The Hecatonkers' hands were not all the same. There was an avalanche of rocks, a set of scissors more than enough for an entire classroom, and enough papers to make a fleet of airplanes. As for Percy, his hand shot out an unfamiliar sign that confused everyone in the room. See, I always win, Briars said sadly without even looking. Are you sure? Percy said smugly. Briars opened his eyes. Wait, what is that? It's a gun. Naruto repeated the words Paul told him some time ago. A gun beats everything. That's not fair, Briars protested. Well, Camp's not going to be fair when she comes back either. She's going to blame you for destroying the bars, Percy reasoned. Now I believe I have won this little game of ours, so get up on your feet. We have to get out of here. Briars sniffled, but his face was no longer depressed. You demigods are cheaters. Slowly rising to his feet, he walked out of the cage. That's the spirit! Tyson clapped happily, now that his hero has come back to his senses. Hope filled up the spirits of our heroes. All they had to do was get downstairs and find the entrance they came through. They all began to turn to leave, but Tyson froze. Down below, in their supposed destination, was the jailer. And she did not look happy. Chapter 7: Disappointment and Doubt. The ground behind the demigods exploded with smoke as a stack of crates almost flattened them. Currently, our heroes were running for their lives. The sound of massive wings was sounding awfully close behind them. There was a hiss as Naruto flung another kunai at their pursuer. The monster growled in the same language from before, the ancient tongue. They scrambled down the final staircase and past a guard station. They found themselves in another block of prison cells. Left! Annabeth pointed out, remembering the tour she took some time ago. Our heroes finally burst out into a courtyard. The sun was glaring down at them, causing them to shield their eyes. After being underground for so long, the light almost blinded them. Outside, everything seemed normal. There were tourists casually walking around, taking pictures. The wind blew cold air from the bay. In the south, the city gleamed in the sun, but in the north, clouds swirled almost like a storm over the mountain. The whole sky was black compared to the sky over San Francisco. What was weird was the clouds didn't bother the tourists one bit. Who could blame them? The mist must be shielding their eyes from the supernatural storm. The demigods tingled, Naruto especially. Their bodies felt the phantom pains of everything they endured on top of that mountain. It was a grueling battle that they somehow survived. Annabeth, though, had a different thought. It can't be, she said as she stared at the funnel of clouds. The storms had been bad all year, but this, what are you doing? Briars wailed, breaking the others from their musings. She's right behind us. The group continued running as the ground shook. The wall is holding and the door is too small for her, Percy said triumphantly. We're SA. Just as Percy was about to finish his sentence, the whole wall gave way. The tourists around them screamed and scrambled to get away. Who knows what the mist let these mortals see? You gotta stop jinxing us, Naruto told his brother. Out of the dust and rubble, Camp appeared. Her wings were spread out covering the whole courtyard. She was holding two giant swords, two long bronze scimitars that glowed in eerie green aura that boiled wisps of vapor. The demigods could smell the sour odors and feel the heat even from across the whole yard. Poison! Grover yelled. Don't let them touch you or we'll die, Percy guessed. Gee, why am I not surprised? Well, yes, Grover nodded. After you slowly shrivel up to dust. Then, we better avoid the swords, Naruto said as he sat on the ground. Buy me time. I'm entering sage mode. Briars! Grow to your full size, Tyson begged. He ripped a lamppost off the ground like it was a toothpick. Briars did not oblige. The 100-handed one instead seemed to shrink even more, and his face morphed back to his terrified face. He just cowered in fear in the corner. There was no time to push him to fight. Camp was thundering towards them and fast. Tyson decided that that was enough. If his idol wasn't going to help him, then he would buy Naruto time, even if it was just on his own. I'll help, Percy yelled, drawing his weapon. No! Poison will kill you! Only hurt Cyclopes! Tyson yelled back as he hefted his pole like a bat. Just when the ancient monster was awfully close to them, Tyson swung the lamp post like a bat. Camp was sent flying where she crashed into the wall she burst through, stunning her for but a moment. Pools of poison oozed from her weapons and melted the ground. That was enough for Percy to heed his brother's words. Get Briars to safety, Tyson said, as he hefted his weapon like a makeshift lance. Percy, Annabeth, and Grover dragged the cowering Briars. Thanks to his terrified state and small stature, the three were able to get him away from the fighting just as Tyson charged Camp like cavalry in a jousting match. The ancient monster was nailed in the chest, but she held her ground. She slashed her weapons across the pole, disarming the Cyclops, but he was able to leap back. Camp went for another slash at the unarmed Cyclops. Tyson just smirked and leaned back partially as the shadow of a massive spear appeared overhead. Senpo, Odama Rasengan! Naruto called out his attack as he ground the move into Camp's face. The attack exploded, leaving a crater in the prison courtyard. Naruto landed next to the young Cyclops. Glad I got there in time. You were awesome! Tyson cheered. So were you, big guy. Naruto clapped the Cyclops' shoulder. He turned serious once more, hearing the shuffling from the rubble. I think we need more firepower if we hope to beat him, Naruto told his partner. Tyson nodded as he picked up another weapon. Camp stood in front of them, the dust swirling around her form to heal her injuries. The hair on her head hissed. Then, a lion suddenly popped up from the half-formed faces on her chest, briefly roaring at them before disappearing. She growled in the ancient tongue once again. Naruto seemed to pick up that she wanted to tell her something, but he just couldn't understand. Is she trying to tell me something? He asked. She said, you insolent demigod. I will kill you for that. Tyson translated. Just like earlier, he copied the jailer's raspy voice. Great. Naruto let out an exasperated sigh. I just made her angry. Shrugging off his frustration, Naruto raised his fingers to form a cross to form his favorite hand sign. Kagebunshin no Jutsu! Naruto yelled, creating 4 identical and solid clones. One stayed behind and started gathering chakra, while the other 3 joined Tyson and the original and got ready for round 2. All of them charged at each other. Somehow, Camp had gotten back her swords and brandished them as she shuffled towards her prey. Tyson and the 3 Narutos evaded the sword swings as they met in the middle. Tyson shot his arm forward, stunning the monster. One clone plowed through her serpent feet, knocking her to the ground. Then, the 2 other clones pinned her to the ground. The vipers and the predatory animals tried to snap at Naruto, but the blonde's rock-hard skin saved the clones from dispelling. After their altercation, a loud screeching noise came from the original. Tyson turned back and saw the original holding up a shuriken. It wasn't just any shuriken. It was a shuriken made of pure chakra. It had a Rasengan core and 4 blades of chakra spinning fast. Get out of here, Tyson! Naruto barked. You will get caught in the blast! Tyson heeded the shinobi's words. He ran towards the direction Percy and Annabeth had dragged Briars. As he looked back, he saw Naruto leap into the air and throw the shuriken. Camp let out a screech of her own. The attack hit true and exploded on top of her. To the naked eye, they could see a dome of air spinning. To the gods, they saw microscopic wind blades ripping the monster shreds even to the microscopic level. As the attack exploded to its climax, a huge gust of wind blew outward. When everything dissipated, Naruto approached the explosion site. Not even monster dust was left in the crater that was formed by the spiraling sphere. I didn't expect that to happen, Naruto mused to himself as he inspected the crater. Looking down, he saw 2 pens glinting in the middle. He leaped down to the crater to check out whatever drop he had gotten. The pens reminded him of his and Percy's own retractable weapons. He clicked the bottom of both pens, causing them to grow into their full length. They both turned into Camp's swords, except they were small enough to be carried by a human. They also glowed a greenish hue. Something told Naruto not to get sliced up by those swords. The results wouldn't be pretty. Cool. Naruto gasped to himself at the thought of wielding these weapons. His fascination was cut short when he remembered his friends, the thoughts of the quest, and the overwhelming time pressure returned to him. Right, he said, pressing the bottom of the scimitars together to shrink them to pen form. After that, he felt for the familiar feeling of his marker. After finding it, he disappeared in a yellow flash. With the rest of the quest-goers. Get yourself together! Percy barked out as he, Annabeth, and Grover basically lugged Briars towards the cell door where they exited from. A tremor worried Percy a little. That did not sound good. He and his friends immediately thought of the worst. Can't go any further, Briars huffed. He hadn't run like this in his entire life. He had just been content with being caught by Camp and getting tortured. Percy dropped the 100-handed one's arm and turned to glare at him. Feeling the other arm go slack, Annabeth and Grover did the same. Without anyone lugging him this time, he fell to his knees. What's the use? She will come back for us after she's finished with them. Will you snap out of this? Percy snapped, trying to hide the fear and worry on his own face. Tyson and Naruto are fighting so we can get away. Annabeth and Grover patted Percy on the back to calm him down. Just as Percy was about to speak again, Tyson came bounding in from where they came from. Percy, he said as he came running in. Tyson. Percy perked up as he heard his half-brother. He wrapped Tyson in a bear hug as best he could despite the big guy's size. You made it out, Grover said, but he noticed the lack of a certain blonde shinobi. Where's Naruto? Annabeth voiced the question. I left him there, Tyson answered. He finished off the monster. I'm sorry, what? Briars got to his feet completely gobsmacked at what he just heard. Camp is defeated, Tyson repeated himself. Surely you jest, young Cyclops, Briars said, still not believing what he heard. If what you say is true, then where is your friend? Annabeth clutched her kunai in the small scabbard she kept hidden at her back. No, Naruto is fine. He can come out of anything. Young demigod, you do not know camp as well as I. Briars shook his head. Did I miss anything? Naruto's voice came from behind the daughter of Athena. She turned around and the worry left her face. It was replaced by a look of relief and happiness. Why, you're back, she said, wrapping the blonde in a hug. Of course I'm back, Annie. It takes more than camp to bring me down, Naruto answered. The girl wasn't bothered by her nickname this time. I am Possibly, Briars said. How? Futon Raisin Shuriken, Naruto simply said. No way, Percy exclaimed. You got it to work? I'm just glad it didn't explode in my face when I tried it. Naruto slowly melting in Annabeth's embrace. I don't understand. Briars just stared at the brothers' banter. Oh right, Naruto remembered as he unwrapped himself from the embrace. Did I mention that I'm not from this world? If it was possible, Briar's eyes widened even more at the revelation. Seeing his reaction, Naruto shrugged. I guess I did not, but yes, I am not from here. But that still does not answer my question, Briars said. How did you defeat her? Naruto held out his hand and formed a sphere in his hand. I'm not exactly your normal demigod. I'm a shinobi, a ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village. We mold chakra into our weapons or into our jutsu to attack. I ripped her to shreds with the final form of this jutsu. It was like Briars's mind broke with that statement. It was like Briars still couldn't believe what he just heard. Come on, man. Percy waved off the statement. We have better things to worry about. How can you act like this? Briars threw off his gasket. He might be the key to defeating the Titans. Nah, man. Naruto shook his head. I know I'm not the one in the prophecy. Whoever that guy is, we're in his hands. This is good and all, but does anyone know how to get out of here? Grover spoke up. He looked like he had been looking for a way out all this time. Look for the mark of Daedalus, Annabeth pointed out. The Greek letter for Delta. Everyone did their fair share of looking. Even Briars did, despite his shock and awe. There. Percy pointed out to his friends at what looked like a tiny scratch on the prison wall. He touched and the mark glowed blue, followed by the stone wall grinding open. Now that the ancient monster was defeated, they had all the time in the world to wait for the wall to open for them. Naruto offered to let Briars go first, but he hesitated. What if we get attacked in there? He whined. Then we'll just take them out. Naruto answered patiently. What if we get attacked by something as big as camp? He whined again. Then you just grow to your normal size, Tyson said happily. If you're big again, then we can fight her. Briars looked hopeful. He tried to morph again, but just like earlier, he fell short. It's no use, he said sadly. I am still scared. But camp is not here anymore, Percy argued. Monsters reform, boy, Briars argued. And with the Titans in charge, don't even get me started with them. If it was possible, we know it is cause he's not a human. He shrunk even further. He walked forward into the now fully opened entrance to the maze. He gave one more look at the children and said, Don't bother fighting them. If they managed to almost win before, then they'll be able to now. He continued on his way. Briares. Wait. Tyson called out, but he didn't stop. Percy placed a hand on the Cyclops' shoulder and shook his head. Tyson had learned an important lesson that day. Never meet your heroes. The team delved deeper into the labyrinth. As soon as they set foot in the maze, the wall behind them snapped shut. Once again, they were left in the darkness. We're going back in here again, Grover muttered to himself. He still wasn't a fan of underground places despite staying here for who knows how long now. After walking for gods know how long, they found themselves in a room full of waterfalls. There was no floor, only a pit in the middle where the water drained into. When you looked down the hole, they couldn't see anything, even if you shined a light down there. It was in this room where they found Briars washing his face over a waterfall. "This pit goes down to Tartarus," he said as he heard the group come in after him. "I should just jump down there to save you the trouble. Maybe you should if you'll act that way." Tyson muttered to himself, but he sounded like he didn't mean it. He sounded more hurt than angry. Annabeth, hearing the Cyclops' comment, shot him a look. "I know you're mad at him, Tyson, but that's no way to talk to him," he told the young monster. He then turned to Briars and talked to him in a big sisterly voice. "Don't be like that, Briars. You can come to camp with us. Help us set up for the coming war." "I have nothing to offer, child." Briars shook his head. "I have lost everything." "But didn't you have brothers?" Percy asked. "They are no more," Briars answered, his face morphing into that of a grieving one. "They have long since faded." "But…" Percy couldn't comprehend what he has just heard. He was taught differently. "Weren't monsters immortal like the gods?" "Percy," Grover said weakly, "immortality has its limits. Sometimes monsters get forgotten, and they lose their will to stay immortal." "If that's the case," Naruto's voice trailed off, "is Grover's quest for naught?" His thoughts didn't end there. His mind traveled to that time Apollo told him about the old sun god Helios. He thought about the Egyptian gods. They were much older than the Greeks, Romans, and even the Norse gods. The last of the Egyptians perished a long time ago. If they are anything like the Greeks, it would be impossible, if not unlikely, to have people out there continuing the faith in the Egyptian pantheon. That would make sense, right? Somewhere in a well-dressed man suddenly sneezed. He was of African-American descent, and he has piercing brown eyes. A younger man noticed this and looked at him with concern. "Are you okay, Dad?" the teen asked worriedly. He was also an African-American that had short, curly brown hair. "I'm fine, son," the older man answered his son with a smile. "It's probably just your mother and your sister thinking about us." "Okay, Dad? If you say so." The boy shrugged, chalking it up to some dust his dad inhaled. Back in the labyrinth. "I must go." Briars turned to leave in between the children. "We need you at camp," Tyson said half-heartedly. He had low hopes that his former idol can change his mind this time. "I cannot. I am not as strong as I used to be," Briars mourned. Percy moved in front of the 100-handed one. "Stop!" he yelled, but the bigger guy just gave him one look and looked down again. "Another demigod, Luke, plans to invade Camp Half-Blood," Percy told him. "There's a labyrinth entrance right in the middle of the camp, and he plans to hit that. Right now, he's looking for Ariadne's string to navigate the maze," Naruto added. "If Camp Half-Blood falls, then there truly is no hope. Not to mention the golden sarcophagus that holds the Time Lord's remains." Grover gulped. "If they have his remains, then it is only a matter of time." Briars shook his head. "All hope is lost. I do not have the finger gun to win this war." "Maybe that's why immortals fade away," Percy said, realizing something. "It's probably not the mortals believing in you. It's maybe because you lose faith in yourselves." He still stood there, his back to them, not saying a word. If the demigods could see his face, they would recognize a look of shame. He started to walk away. "Before you go, let me just remind you that if the Titans win, there is no place on Earth or Tartarus where you can hide away from the Titans," Naruto said. "They will find you eventually." After hearing what he had to say, he walked back into the darkness of the labyrinth and disappeared. "Maybe it's better if he doesn't join the war," Tyson said as he looked at where Briars went with a tone of dismay in his voice. "Don't be like that." Grover patted the big guy's shoulder. "Everything will be okay eventually." Tyson sneezed. "No, Goat Boy. He was my hero." Percy wanted to say something to cheer the Cyclops up, but he couldn't think of anything to say. Finally, Annabeth stood and shouldered her pack. "This pit is starting to make me feel nervous. We should find another place to camp." "I agree," Naruto said. "We don't want a repeat of the last time." "Nah." Grover was the first to start walking, remembering that incident in the underworld. "I'm not doing that again." The others promptly followed. Just as before, they still had no idea where they were going. They were still clueless as to how to navigate the maze. After what seemed like hours, they finally settled in a corridor made out of huge marble blocks. It could have been part of a Greek tomb or something. They would never know. It was lined with bronze torches along the walls giving them light. It looked to be one of the older parts of the dungeon. Annabeth took it as a good sign. "We must be close to Daedalus's workshop," she said. "Get some rest, everybody. We'll continue in the morning." How do we know if it's morning?" Grover asked. "We don't even know if it's night." Naruto shrugged. Annabeth sighed in annoyance. "Knock it off, you two, and just get some rest." Grover didn't need to be told twice. He immediately pulled out a heap of straw from his backpack, ate some of it, and made himself cozy. "What I'd give to have a tree around here." Naruto sighed as tried to get himself comfortable on one side. "You and me both," Grover remarked before drifting off into a deep sleep. "I'll take the first watch," Annabeth said. "No, you need some rest," Naruto countered. "But I'm the leader of this quest," she argued. "All the more reason for you to get some rest, so you can plan our next move," Naruto argued back. "There's no winning against you, huh?" Annabeth sighed. "Only if it's for your sake." Naruto smiled. "Now, get some rest." She unfurled the sleeping bag that was strapped to her bag. Instead of going to sleep, she dragged her sleeping bag towards Naruto, who was sitting down. "What's wrong?" Naruto asked as he noticed the girl walking towards him. She twiddled her fingers together. "Can I sleep here next to you? Sure, just don't snore," Naruto said jokingly. "I don't snore." Annabeth huffed, annoyed that the blonde would even tease her like that. She didn't walk away though, she still made herself comfortable beside the blonde shinobi. Annabeth tried to follow Grover's example for a full minute, but she just couldn't fall asleep. Naruto noticed the girls tossing and turning and talked to her. "Something on your mind?" Athena's daughter sat up. "Yes. I can't get my mind off this quest. Some leader I turned out to be." She berated herself. "Hey, don't say that," he said, trying to get off the negativity in the girl's head. "You're doing great so far." "Really? We get lost in the maze and end up in the other side of America, only to be chased by some dragon lady. Hey, nobody said the quest was going to be easy. Things would be suspicious if it were that way." She brushed her hair out her face. Naruto noticed a smudge of dirt on her chin. Naruto took out a handkerchief and wiped the dirt away. This caused the girl to blush and grab the hanky away from the blonde. "I can do it myself," Annabeth protested, trying to keep her voice from cracking from the flustered state. Naruto looked at the girl as she cleaned herself up. She was trying to act tough, but Naruto deep down she was scared. He couldn't help but imagine a younger Annabeth traveling with Talia and Luke all those years ago. Perhaps even now, she still needed someone to lean to in time like this, but Naruto knew not to underestimate her. This girl still had guts. She noticed Naruto staring at her. "What are you looking at?" she asked, trying to sound annoyed. "You," Naruto said nonchalantly. "It's hard not to stare at you. See, can you not?" She didn't sound as annoyed as she wanted. She sounded flustered. All right. Naruto held his hands up in a placating gesture. "What seems to be bothering you?" "This quest," Annabeth confided. "I just wish this quest was logical. I mean, we're traveling now, but we have no control over where we're going. It doesn't make sense. How can we walk from New York to California in a day? You said it yourself, space isn't the same in the maze," Naruto pointed out. "I know." Annabeth looked up hesitantly. "You know, I was kidding myself when I thought that I could handle this quest. All that reading and planning I did, it was all for nothing. To be fair, we don't have a way to navigate the maze the way Theseus did in the stories. Besides, we all know you're doing your best. Everyone here will support you. But I feel like I'm letting everyone down. No one thinks that. Look, we always somehow get out of anything that's thrown at us. Remember, Circe's Island? I was told Percy was cute as a guinea pig." "Hey!" came Percy's indignant voice as he heard his name. "He was." Annabeth giggled, ignoring Percy's protest. "What about in Waterland when the war god's shield turned out to be booby-trapped?" Naruto continued listing off their escapades. "All right, I get it." She smiled. "I know you're strong, Annabeth. Heck, you even held up the sky." "Thank you, Naruto. I needed that pep talk. I think I can go to sleep now." "Any time. We are all here for you. Good night." "Good night." Chapter 8. We visit the ranch. It was a workshop. Measuring instruments littered the work table. A forge burned red hot in the corner. A tall boy stoked the bellows. A weird funnel device attached to the forge's chimney trapped the smoke and heat, channeling it through a pipe next to a large bronze manhole cover. The time of day looked to be in the morning. The sky outside was blue, not that the two prisoners could see from the dungeon they were working on. The only indication to the two workers was a window high up in the wall. Only a shinobi who knows his stuff could reach it, but it was obvious that none of the two were shinobi. The other worker was a frail old man. He was terribly thin, and his hands were raw and red from working. His long white mane covered his eyes as he worked, and his tunic was smudged with grease. What was he working on, you ask? I can only describe it as beautiful. It was a long metal patchwork, similar to that of chain mail. When he held his masterpiece up, he revealed it to be metal wings with thousands of interlocking bronze feathers. He stretched the wings to their full wingspan. It reached 20 feet. The metal feather gleamed in the little sunlight they got, causing it to shimmer about 30 shades of gold. Now I know what you're thinking. It's made of freaking metal. How the hell is this thing going to fly? My answer to that is, you don't know this inventor. If he made it, there's no way in Hades's undergarments is this thing going to fail. Father, you're a genius! The boy said as he looked up at the old man's handiwork. A smile crept up to the old man's lips. Tell me something I don't know, Icarus. Now hurry up, we need at least an hour to attach them. The now-named Icarus shook his head. No, father. You made them. You should get the honor of wearing them first. An hour later both men sat wearing their leather harnesses. They almost looked like climbing gears, but trust me, they're not going climbing. The metal wings were attached to their back. The old man looked like a majestic golden birdman. The wax should hold on for several hours, the old man said as he attached the same set of wings to his son. But we must be careful. If we fly to the sun would melt the wax. If we fly too low, the sea will wet the wax. Yes, father. We've been through that 1,000,000 times now. Icarus waved his father off. These are your inventions. There's no way that they would fail. One cannot be too careful, my son, the old man said, but you can see his eyes shining. He loved this boy more than anything. Things were going smoothly, when boom, a loud sound thundered through the dungeon as a battering ram slammed into the wooden door. The sound startled the old man, causing him to spill some wax on the young boy's shoulder. His son winced, but he did not cry out. What's happening? He instead panicked. They're not due FO. Boom, the battering ram once again slammed on the doors, stopping the boy from his words. They were a moot point now. The old man worked on the wings furiously, or well, as furiously as an old man could work. He worked through the booming sounds of the battering ram. And, just as the doors splintered, he finished with the right wing. Surprised to see me, Daedalus? A voice came from inside the plume of dust and smoke that the rubble of the door kicked up. I'd like to say I'm sorry for crashing into your party, but I'm not. The owner of the voice walked through the smoke. It was King Minos, with a cruel smile plastered on his face. We're leaving, Minos, Daedalus told him with courage, despite the armed guards beside the king. The cruel king just chuckled. You know, I was curious how far you could take your little project before I crushed your hopes and dreams. I must say, I'm impressed, despite how you look like metal chickens right now. I should just pluck your wings off and make a soup. Hee hee, chicken soup. One of the guards chuckled, finding his king's joke funny. Shut up, he yelled at the guard. He turned to the inventor. You have made me a laughingstock of the whole Mediterranean. You let my daughter escape. You drove my wife into madness. And you killed my monster. In a bout of anger, Icarus grabbed the wax gun and shot it at the king. On instinct, the guards stepped forwards to shield their king, only to get sprayed in the face with hot wax. The guards writhed in pain. The two men used the opportunity to pry open the manhole cover. The guards recovered, but Daedalus threw a vial of green liquid at them. The oil around them lit ablaze as the fire spread through the whole workshop. What are you waiting for, you idiots? Get them! Minos all but snarled at his guards who were scared of a little fire. Little did they know, the two prisoners had already escaped and were flying safely over the ocean. Airspace, a good distance away from Crete. Father! We're free! Icarus yelled into the air, doing pirouettes and flips just as good, or even better than a modern aircraft could. Icarus, be careful! Daedalus told off his son for the umpteenth time since they left. The boy did not listen. He sped up north and rode the wind into an eagle's flight path, startling the creature. He plummeted to the sea like he was born to fly and did a nosedive at the last second. His sandals skimmed through the waves. Daedalus clumsily caught up with his son. "Stop that!" he scolded. "Don't worry, father." Icarus laughed in the wind. "I trust your handiwork." Just as he said that, the first metal feather shook loose from his wings. Then another. Pretty soon, he looked like a bird shedding feathers, twirling away from him like a flock of frightened birds. "Glide!" Daedalus ordered. "Extend your wings! Stay as still as possible!" He did not listen. He flapped desperately to assert control. The more he did, the more feathers shed from the frame. First, the left wing went, then the right wing, soon after. In the end, he was just a boy in climbing gear, falling down into the deep blue ocean, never to be seen again. The LABY-RYAN-THPRECNTDAY Percy woke with a start. Not one of them could tell the time of day while they were in the underground maze, well, maybe except for Grover. But one thing is for sure. The constant groaning of the maze now sounded eerily like the screams of the boy who plummeted to his death. Breakfast was plain as hell. It was a far cry from what they were used to at the dining pavilion. Looking at his food now, Naruto couldn't help but miss the unlimited ramen he was served at the table. With their plain food, the meal came and went in the blink of an eye. Pretty soon, they were continuing on their way. As they continued to navigate the maze, they were completely confused, especially Annabeth. When the stone walls changed to dirt with cedar beams, the quest leader was now getting agitated. "This isn't happening," she complained. "The architecture should be getting older. Why did it turn to wood?" Naruto just placed a hand on her shoulder to calm down. She appreciated the gesture and forged on with the rest of the team. The mine opened into a cave with stalactites hanging low on the ceiling. In the center of the cave, there was a rectangular pit like a grave. Gazing down onto the pit, there was a glint of foil wrapper wrapping a half-chewed cheeseburger floating in brown carbonated muck. Naruto scrunched his eyebrows. He remembered Bianca telling him about her dreams. You know about this?" Percy looked at him. "Not me." The blonde shook his head. "Bianca did. This is most probably Nico's doing." Grover pinched his nose, looking away from the sight. "No wonder it reeks of the underworld stench in here. Ghosts were here," Tyson whimpered. "I don't like ghosts." "Is he summoning the dead?" Annabeth asked. "Why would he be summoning the dead?" Naruto shook his head. Bianca didn't know either. This is probably because of her near-death experience. Whatever's happening here, someone must be leading him on. Then we have to find him. Percy chimed. He tried running off in a random direction, but Naruto stopped him. "I know we have to find him, but there's no sense in running off and end up getting lost here," Naruto advised. "We don't want to end up like that milkman." Percy shuddered. "You're right, but how do we find him?" Naruto turned to Grover. "Can you tell where he went?" The satyr concentrated for a bit. His nose twitched, trying to discern where the scent led to. A few seconds later, he pointed to a tunnel that had a light presumably at the end. The group followed the tunnel, and when they made it to the source of the light, it turned out to be coming from a grate. Beyond said grate, the quest-goers could see trees and a blue sky. "Where are we?" Percy asked a question. No one answered since none of them knew the answer to it. Percy waited for an answer, but a shadow fell across the grate. Came a sound from whatever creature covered the daylight shining through the grate. It turned out the creature was a cow, but it was no ordinary cow. They were a weird color, bright red, like a cherry. The red cow continued to moo, but a hoof fell through the bars of the grate, causing it to step back. It was then that the satyr was hit with the realization. That's not a grate. It's a cattle guard. "A what?" Percy asked. "A cattle guard," Grover repeated. "They place them at the gates of ranches so the cows won't get out." "How do you know that?" Percy asked again. "Percy, I'm a satyr." Grover rolled his eyes, then looked away with a tinge of pink on his cheeks. "I may or may not have fallen victim to one of these things. I guess there's one way to keep you from stalking my sisters when they come to camp," Naruto remarked with a chuckle. "Hey! I don't stalk on the hunters," the satyr protested. "Gee, could have fooled me," Naruto returned with dry sarcasm. "As much as I like to listen to you two argue, we should get back on track." Annabeth spoke up to prevent his two teammates from deviating farther from their agenda. "Hera said we'll pass by a ranch." She was right. She continued. She seemed to be having a hard time admitting that last part. "That's good and all, But how do we get up there? Percy asked. To answer his question, Tyson reached up to the cattle guard, giving it a blow that caused it to pop off and fly out of sight. There was a loud clang followed by a startled moo. Sorry, cow! Tyson called out with a blush. Once everyone was out of the tunnel, they took a look at their surroundings. Rolling hills stretched as far as the eye could see. It was dotted with oak trees, cacti, and boulders. There was a barbed wire fence running from both sides. Cherry-colored cows roamed around grazing on clumps of grass. I knew it, Naruto said as he recognized the cows. They're Uncle Apollo's cows. Apollo's what? Percy asked. Apollo's sacred cows. Holy cows, Tyson chimed in. Pretty much, Grover shrugged. Who knew he'd be hiding them all the way out here? Naruto said, looking around. Wherever here is, wait. Grover stopped anyone else from speaking. Did you hear that? Everyone heard it. There was a distant baying of dogs. The sounds got louder. The underbrush over to their side rustled, where two dogs broke through. There you are. Naruto's brain translated the growls. The dog's whole body came through. It was then that they realized that the two dogs were just one dog. It was a greyhound, long and snaky and sleek brown, but its neck diverged into two heads. It came out in a stance ready to attack. Arf! Grover greeted in the friendliest manner he could, as friendly as his scared feeling could muster. The two-headed dog bared its teeth and continued growling. Any last words? Whoa there, Orthus! A voice came from the woods. The man came lumbering into the area. If Naruto were to give a description of the man, it would be Father Time. Well, that would be taking liberties. The Father Time description would stick if he were redneck and got totally jacked. He wore jeans, a don't mess with Texas shirt under a denim jacket whose sleeves were ripped to reveal his muscles. On his right biceps was a cross-shaped tattoo. Finally, he was carrying a giant club, as big as a nuclear warhead, with 6-inch spikes bristling at the end. The two-headed dog listened to who Naruto guessed was his master, but not before getting out one last growl to prove his point. This isn't over. Well, what do we have here? The ripped man said in an accent that matched his appearance. Cattle rustlers. No, Annabeth said, playing peacemaker. We're travelers. We're on a quest, you see. Half-bloods, eh? She nodded. She placed her hand on her chest and introduced her team. I'm Annabeth, daughter of Athena. This is Naruto, son of Artemis. He gestured to the shinobi. This is Percy, son of Poseidon, Grover, the satyr, and Tyson, the Cyclops. Yes, I see that, the buff man answered. But how did you know? Percy asked. Well, that's because I am one, Sonny, the man said. I'm Eurytion, son of Ares. You came through the labyrinth like the other one, I reckon. By the other one, do you mean Nico D'Angelo? Naruto asked. You know the other one? The now-named Eurytion knitted his eyebrows. Knew it! Grover cheered at being able to pinpoint the exact location. We need to see him right away, Percy demanded. Eurytion shook his head. I'm afraid I can't do that, son. We get a lot of visitors in this here ranch, but not many ever leave. I suggest you leave now before it's too late. He was acting weird, though. He kept glancing behind him like he was expecting someone to be listening in on their conversation. We're not leaving until we see Nico. Percy remained insistent. Eurytion grunted. Then you leave me no choice. Come with me. You have to see the boss. Later the group walked through the woods, the same way the son of Ares came. They weren't treated like hostages or anything. The muscled man just walked ahead of them, his weapons slung across his shoulder at the ready. Naruto figured that Orthus was a guard dog, but it seemed like he was taking his job way too seriously. He kept growling a lot, and kept jumping in the bushes to chase away animals. What was weird though, he kept sniffing Grover a lot. They walked along the path that seemed to go on forever. What made things worse was that the temperature felt like it was pushing 40, which was odd since they just came from California. It was so hot that you could see the heat shimmering off the ground. They even saw the fences coated with asbestos to prevent them from burning up in the weather. The crew passed by dozens of different animals. Aside from the flies buzzing around them, there were red cows, fire-breathing horses, and a bunch of others that seemed to get weirder as they passed. Say, what are these animals for? Percy asked out of curiosity. We raise animals for a lot of clients, from Apollo to Diomedes and... His voice trailed off. Others. Like who? No more questions, he snapped, and the rest of the way was quiet. Percy didn't bother to press further. He was drenched in sweat by now, and he would give anything to be out of the sun. Eventually, they made it out to the woods, and here they were. In a big ranch house made of white stone and wood, perched up on a hill. Don't break any rules, Eurytion said sternly and started listing them off. No fighting, no drawing weapons. And most of all, don't make any comments about the boss's appearance. Why? Percy asked. He just had to. You'll see, was his cryptic answer. Welcome to Triple G Ranch. As if on cue, the so-called boss of the ranch marched up to the steps. The man looked normal if you just looked at the head. His face was weathered and brown, probably from years of working under the sun. He had slick black hair and a black pencil mustache like those you see worn by villains in the movies. Personally, that would be the biggest red flag yet, but we decided to trust him for now. There was also a smile on his face. It wasn't friendly at all, Percy could tell that much. It was an amused smile more than anything. The part that made Percy hold his tongue, though, was his body. He looked like three people in one. His neck is connected to the body like normal, but he had two extra chests, one on each side, connected to the shoulders with a few inches in between. His left arm grew out of his left chest, and the same on the right, so he had two arms, but 4 armpits, the chests all connected into one enormous torso. With 2 regular but very beefy legs. He was wearing the most oversized pair of levis that any of them had ever seen. They could probably imagine how many X's that came with the L. His chests each wore a different color of western shirt, green, yellow, and red, like a spotlight. Say hello to Mr. Jirian, the cowherd introduced his boss. A nice ranch you have here, Percy said as he looked up from the pudgy man's chest. He had to hold his tongue so hard there. Hello, sir, Annabeth spoke for her crew. We're. Jirian didn't wait for her to answer. Yes, yes. I have been informed of you. Annabeth Chase and her monster friends. Who told you? Naruto narrowed his eyes. And how do you know our names? Excuse me? Grover protested at the same time. That man is wearing 3 shirts. Tyson spoke up as if just realizing that. Jirian frowned. He knew that was a jab at his chest. Before anyone could speak up, someone else came out of the glass doors that Jirian came from. You! The newcomer screamed as he saw who the boss of the ranch was talking to. The sound of a blade scraping with its scabbard followed. Although the blade's sound abruptly stopped, Eurytion was instantly in front of him with a hand on the sword arm. Tut tut, Mr. D'Angelo, need I remind you the rules of my ranch? The boss told him off. Nico? Percy spoke up, recognizing the family name. Shut up! Nico yelled at Percy before turning to the boss again. But Jirian! They let my sister die! But... He tried to protest, but Eurytion's imposing presence in front of him told him otherwise. Fine. The son of Hades finally conceded. Nico. This time it was Naruto. Bianca told me what you have been up to. Do not speak her name! Nico raised his voice. You let her die. You don't deserve to speak her name. But she's alive, Naruto simply said. Whoever told you otherwise is lying. Relief could be seen on his face, but at the same time, he was cautious. It just sounded too good to be true. No, why are you lying to me? Nico slowly said. Am I? Was all that Naruto replied. How many times have you tried to get into contact with her spirit? No, but... He was getting swayed now. She can tell what you are doing, even when she's at camp, Naruto explained. If you would just see reason. Oh, okay, Nico finally said. But if I find out you're lying, let's just say you wouldn't like what would happen. Just trust me. Fine. I would never have imagined that the two of you would have some history with each other, Jirian said, amused at the interaction. Out of all my visitors in this here ranch, you know how to spice up a rancher's day. Thanks I guess, Naruto said, not really sure how to respond to that. But you still didn't answer our question, Annabeth reminded the boss. How did you know about us? It's my business to know about who visits my ranch, darlin'. Everybody pops into the ranch from time to time. Everyone needs something from old Jirian. For the first time since they left on the quest to free Artemis, the crew from Camp Half-Blood was able to take a good look at Nico. He was considerably thinner and paler than before, like he hasn't eaten for a good amount of time, or hasn't been exposed to sunlight for a while. Even his wardrobe had changed. He now wore black clothes, and on his side was a sword as black as midnight. Now that everything is settled, Jiren clapped his hands together. Shall we take a tour around the ranch? Naruto remembered this vehicle. He saw it when Annabeth took him to a zoo in Virginia. It was like one of those kiddie trains that took you around the zoo. This was something like that. It was painted black and white, in a cowhide pattern. To complete the look, the frontmost car had a pair of long horns strapped to the front, and its horns sounded like a cowbell. Everyone sat around the middle, except for Eurytion, who took a nap at the backmost car. As you can see, we run a big operation here, Jiren said, gesturing around his ranch as he drove. We have horses, cattle, and exotic animals too. He drove over a hill, and Annabeth almost jumped out of her seat. Are those hippolectrians? She pointed out. I thought they were extinct. Where Annabeth pointed, there were the strangest animals Naruto had ever seen in his life. Each animal had the front half of a horse and the back half of a rooster. The rear feet were huge yellow claws. They had feathery tails and red wings. As the two of them were getting into a fight over a pile of bird seed, they reared their wings at each other until the smaller one ran away, with a hop in each step of the rear legs. Rooster ponies, Tyson said in amazement. Do they lay eggs? That they do, young Cyclops, he answered enthusiastically. They lay eggs once a year. Their eggs are always in demand. That sounded wrong to Naruto. As the son of the goddess of wild animals, he had to say something. Isn't that illegal? Nonsense, boy. The ranch owner waved him off. Besides, you haven't tasted their omelets. That's horrible. They're endangered, Grover protested. Bah, gold is gold. Jiren waved him off as well and returned to his tour. And over on this side, we have our fire-breathing horses. You may have seen them on your way in. They're bred for war, naturally. What war? Percy asked. Any war, Jiren answered, with a sly grin on his face. We've been breeding them since the First Titan War. Anyway, he continued, over yonder are our prized red cows. We saw them earlier, Naruto said. My uncle's cows. Jiren nodded. You see, your uncle is a busy god, so he subcontracts us to look after them. These we breed vigorously. Why? He asked. Their meat is very much in demand. Grover and Naruto looked scandalized. You can't do that, the satyr yelled. That's against ancient laws. Uncle wouldn't allow that, Naruto added. Bah, they're just animals. He shrugged. And if Apollo disapproved of it, he would say something. Something tells me he doesn't know, Percy muttered. Wait, Annabeth said, spotting another thing in the distance. Everyone followed her gaze, and those who were in the know widened their eyes. Those are. Chapter 9, Double Cross. It was a sweltering day in the Triple G Ranch. The demigods were taking on a tour around the ranch, even if they did not need that at the moment so that they won't offend their new host. Among the demigods was Nico D'Angelo, who had been missing since the events last winter. After a bit of catching up and a lot of convincing, Nico was finally able to see the truth and, at the moment, is not currently hostile to the group from Camp Half-Blood. Currently, we find Jiren's choo-choo train overlooking a pen filled with an all-too-familiar bed of massive scorpions. Annabeth's eyes widened. She pointed to the distance and said, Wait! Those are… Everyone looked in the direction she was pointing at. They both had shocked expressions on their faces. What are the odds? Was all Naruto's dumbfounded comment. I never thought I would see those again, Grover said, with a bit of fear in his voice. After stumbling around all night, as those monsters chased them, he would never forget what they looked like. Big scary scorpions again, Tyson pointed out. I see you already encountered my prized scorpions. Jiren noticed the look of recognition on the others' faces minus Nico, who was looking at them like they were sharing an inside joke. You're demigods, Jiren thought aloud. I remember shipping out some scorpions to a Camp Half-Blood. If you're familiar with that place. He didn't get to finish his sentence as Percy spoke up. I knew your ranch sounded familiar. He remembered his encounter with the crates in the sword arena, and the words printed on them. Do you know anyone by the name Quintus? The enthusiasm drained from Jiren's face. Quintus, huh? Yes? Never heard of him. His tone was a tone of finality. He made it clear that he didn't want to talk about it anymore like it was some sort of sore subject. He drove and moved on to another section of the ranch. This part of the tour, everyone was not looking forward to. As they got closer, their sense of smell was assaulted by a really bad odor. Think of that dumpster at the back of your local Walmart, or the piece of roadkill that had started to grow maggots. This was worse. I couldn't imagine what this would have smelled like to those with an enhanced sense of smell. They were passing by the banks of a river, which Percy was surprised did not look as polluted with how close it was to the body of water. Next to the river shore was a large horse corral that stretched out to the size of a football field. The closer they get, the stronger the putrid smell became. And the closer they had gotten, they began to understand why. About 100 horses were milling around, but really, they did not seem like they were walking. The offensive smell was coming from the poop that reached up to half of the horses' feet, so they looked like they were wading through the river rather than walking. "These right here are my prize stables," Jirian introduced. "Well, they actually belong to Igas, but we watch over them for a small fee." "Lots of poop," Tyson commented. "What happened here?" Nico gagged. "He's too cheap to have the stables cleaned," Eurytion grunted at the back of the train. Even he was awakened by the smells. "Quiet!" the boss of the ranch snapped. "Fine. I admit that they are challenging to clean. And maybe I get a little nauseous when the wind blows the wrong way, but at the end of the day, I still get paid." "How can you think of money when the animals are living in these conditions?" Annabeth asked. "Look here, lady. Y'all starting to get on my nerves," Jirian said. "I keep telling you. They're just animals. The clients pay well for them." "Clients?" That got Naruto's attention. If they knew the condition they were in, they would demand to pay a lot less than they have been paying. "What they won't know won't kill them, kid. Unless they piss off the horses." He muttered that last part to himself. "Besides, these horses are in demand. You don't know how many people will pay for a flesh-eating horse." "You're a monster!" Annabeth yelled, which the Three Bodies man wasn't too happy about. "What gave it away, lady?" Jirian deadpanned. When it comes to his appearance, he was really sensitive. "Was it the Three Bodies?" No, Naruto clarified. "What she meant was the way you treat these animals is inhumane, making you a monster." "Right." Jirian rolled his eyes, not really convinced. "Look, I am a businessman, and these animals are mere commodities that I trade for sweet gold." Nico sighed. He had been delayed in this ranch long enough. He will not allow any more distractions to keep him away from his mission. He exited the train. Eurytion took this as a cue to get off as well. The immortal demigod didn't look as sleepy as he made it out to be. The son of Hades stormed to the boss of the ranch, making Eurytion heft his club. This didn't deter Nico. He still said what he had to say. "Look, I appreciate you guys coming after me," he told the questers first. "And even though Bianca is still alive, it is my duty as a son of Hades to track down this soul that has escaped death for millennia." He then walked over to the front and said, "You and I had a deal, Jirian. My guide told me that you would be able to help me." "Guide?" Naruto asked, remembering what Bianca had told him. "Is this some kind of spirit that has been leading you on since you left camp?" "How did you know?" Nico asked, surprised that the shinobi would guess right. "I suppose Bianca would have told you, huh?" Naruto nodded. "Speaking of spirit, where is he?" Jirian interjected. Nico looked uneasy. "He's around here somewhere, I'm sure. It's just hard for him to reform in broad daylight. I'm sure Midas disappears when things get, how do you say it? Difficult." Jirian smiled. "Difficult?" Naruto narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean difficult?" "Son of Artemis." Jirian gave Naruto a look that was full of greed. "Scratch that, can I call you Naruto instead?" "Yeah, sure, whatever works." The blonde rolled his eyes at the change in subject. "You see, Naruto, I have been given a really good business deal. Luke Castellan is offering very good money for half-bloods. Especially powerful half-bloods." He rubbed his hands together. "I'm sure if he learns about the lot of you, he might pay me very, very well. I can just imagine how much he would offer for you, Mr. D'Angelo." "I knew it, you're working for Kronos' army," Percy snapped. Eurytion hefted his club at the first signs of aggression. "I wouldn't call it that," the boss said with mock hurt on his face. "I would call it a partnership. I am a businessman after all. Now, my trusty second-hand man, restrain them." Eurytion sent his employer an "Are you out of your mind" look, but still stepped forward to do his job. Naruto stepped forward as well, ready for a fight to get out of the ranch. Right behind him, Percy was ready to back him up, his pen already in hand. Annabeth, though, was racking her brain for a way out of here without a fight. Before things could escalate, she yelled. Wait. Everyone relaxed and looked at her oddly, even her teammates. What is it this time, girlie? Jiren asked, annoyed at the interruption. You're a businessman, right? Annabeth asked. Jiren rolled his eyes, not knowing where this was going. We already established that. Then I got a proposition for you. Annabeth said in her best businesswoman voice. You have gold? Jiren asked, briefly considering it. Well, no, Annabeth said, almost losing the ranch owner's interest. But I can barter with you. The boss didn't look interested, but Annabeth pushed through anyway. You said the horse stable stench bothers you, right? That got his attention. Those stables haven't been cleaned in 1,000 years. How sure are you that you can do any different? Because we have a son of the sea with us, Annabeth said, gesturing to Percy like he was selling a product. What? Why, ow. Percy protested but immediately changed his mind when Annabeth elbowed him. I mean, yes. I can control water really well. Think about it. Annabeth continued. If Percy cleans the stables, you're free of the stench and have more uses for your stables. If he gets eaten, hey. Percy protested but was ignored. Then you could sell us to the Titan army. What do you have to lose? If that stable was cleared, I might be able to sell more stable space. Jiren muttered to himself. All right, deal. I accept your offer. You have until sunset. If you're not done by then, you're all going to the Titan army. Deal. The ride back to the house was quiet. It was just like before. Jiren drove the choo-choo train with Orthus by his side. Eurytion took the last train car and dozed off. The demigods took the middle car. The only difference was that Percy was not there. That was quick thinking there, Annabeth. Naruto praised the daughter of the wisdom goddess. Annabeth smiled, a tinge of pink appearing on her cheeks. Thanks, I'm just glad we can get out of here without much of a fight. She sighed tiredly and leaned her head on Naruto's shoulder. You don't mind if do this, right? Not at all. Naruto smiled. I'm worried about camp. Do you think Luke found Ariadne's string yet? Annabeth asked. Not likely, Naruto answered. He's just as lost as we are. And in addition to that, he's leading a large army which would make their travel much harder than ours. You're right, Annabeth said, more confidently this time. We'll get to Daedalus before. We'll convince him to give the string to us. As soon as she said that, the train screeched to a halt, and Jiren and Eurytion exited the vehicle. Jiren waited for the children to exit his train. When all of them were off, he snapped his fingers, and Orthus immediately became hostile. Eurytion hefted his club once more, causing Naruto to tense. We had a deal, Annabeth protested, with a look of disbelief on her face. Sorry, girlie. Jiren shrugged, which looked like a wave with his 3 torsos. I thought about your offer once more and decided that Luke Castellan's proposition brings me much more profit. You fiend! Grover cried out. I'll go call Percy. The satyr stepped back to run towards his best friend, but the moment he did, Orthus looked ready to pounce. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Jiren wiggled his finger at the satyr. You do that, and you might just become goat meat. Remember, satyr, I won't be able to sell you, so you might just become a treat for Orthus. The 2-headed dog bared his fangs. Grover hesitated. I'm glad we understand each other. Jiren grinned savagely. This is the best deal I've gotten in millennia. I get my stables clean, and I get heaps of gold for you demigods. Only because you double-crossed us, you sick F***ck. Naruto gritted his teeth. Now, there's no need to use that language on me. Jiren reprimanded the boy. It's your fault for not letting swear on the river Styx. Annabeth slapped her own forehead. She looked at her friends with remorse. I'm sorry, guys. This is my fault. Don't beat yourself up over it. Naruto consoled his friend. We'll still get out of this. He looked back at his friends. Because I will never let my friends die. With Percy. Why do I have to get stuck with the dirty work? Percy sulked to himself as he stared at the knee-deep muck in the stables. Percy was once again reminded that these were not normal horses as they were eyeing him like a piece of meat, instead of grazing on grass, not that they could do that with all the poop. I don't suppose you guys know how to clean your house? The son of Poseidon asked. Come inside. We will show you, the horses answered in the teen's head. No, thanks. He shook his head. No other way around it, he had to use the water from the river. He turned in the direction of the body of water and began to make his way there. As he neared the body of water, there was someone waiting for him at the banks of the river. She looked like a normal teenager, except for bits of river grass braided on her long brown hair. I know what you're thinking. She didn't even greet the teen. You look like a normal human, was what Percy said. Duh, we can look like a normal human if we want to. The girl rolled her eyes. Why was it you that came here? I heard there was the son of Artemis here, but no, I'm stuck here with an ignorant sea boy, not that I'm going to let him use my river either. Percy ignored the jab at him. He was already used to all the nature spirits going gaga on his adoptive brother, but it was then that the Naiad's words hit him. You know what I came here to do? You're not the first to come to ask me a favor, and he was so much better looking than you are. There she was again. I can't believe I let myself get sweet-talked into helping him. Worst mistake I've ever made. Do you have any idea what the horse manure would do to my ecosystem? I'm not a sewage treatment plant. My fish will die. I'll never get much out of my plants. I'll be sick for years. No thank you. But, my friends, Percy pressed. No. That's not my problem. I'm not going to let anyone ruin my river ever again. She was resolute with her decision. All right, you win, Percy said. I said, wait, what did you say? The son of the sea god's response surprised the Naiad. Really? This is your river. I'm not going to fight you for it, he explained. Oh, good thing for you, she said. She was expecting much more of an argument than this one. But what am I going to do? My friends are going to be sold to the Titans if I don't clean the stables by sunset, Percy asked the Naiad. You're not as bad as I thought, sea boy, so I suppose I can help you, the Naiad said. Let me tell you a secret. Dig up some dirt. What? You heard me. Percy wasn't sure about the Naiad's advice, but he was pressed for time and out of options, so he decided to trust her. He dug out some dirt. It was dry and black and spotted tiny clumps of white rock and, what's this? Percy picked it up and studied it. It looked suspiciously like seashells, petrified seashells, the Naiad pointed out. Millions of years ago, when Gia and Auranas ruled the world, this land was submerged underwater. The demigod started to realize what the Naiad meant. In his hand were little pieces of ancient sea urchins. Okay, I see your point. Percy looked up from the rock back to the Naiad. But what good is this going to do me? You and I are not so different, demigod. Even when we're out of water, the water is within us, like a life force. She stepped down to the river. I hope you succeed in helping your friends and tell your friend to come and say goodbye before you leave. The sun was about to dip into the hills when he was back in the stables. Sometime before he returned, someone must have come around and fed the horses. He suspected it was Eurytion because he and Geryon were the only ones he saw on the ranch. The horses tore through whatever animal carcass was fed to them like a pride of lions. This, if it were possible, made the stables even more disgusting. Did you come to join us for dinner? The horses looked at him expectantly. He decided to ignore them. He was in a pinch. He was denied the use of the river, and now, he was left with no way to clean the river. Out of frustration, he threw the rock into the poop. He was about to leave to regroup with his friends when he heard something fizz. It was like a balloon that had a leak. He looked towards the direction where he threw the rock, which should have been impossible if not for the tiny water spout. No way, he said, dumbfounded at what he had done. He walked closer to the fence and spoke. Get bigger. To his surprise, the water shot 3 feet into the air. A few curious horses stuck their tongue out to the water and immediately recoiled at the taste. Yuck! Salty! They complained. Not understanding how it happened, Percy just shrugged. He continued digging shells out of the soil and threw them at various areas of the stables. Wherever he threw them, water shot out of the poop. The horses whinnied in panic. Stop! Horses don't like baths. More! He yelled. He felt a tugging sensation in his gut. At the same time, the waterspouts exploded like crazy. The horses panicked around the stables as geysers spread out in various directions. Gradually, the poop started to melt like ice next to a flame. The sight was exhilarating for a son of the sea. In the middle of nowhere, Far from the ocean, he brought the salt water here. The tugging sensation was more painful than before now. Water was everywhere, and the horses were begging him to stop. The horses were drenched and slipping in the mud. The next alarming thing was trickles of water started to stream out of the stables and lead to the river. His eyes widened. "Stop!" he yelled. To his horror, nothing happened. The pain only built up in his gut. If he didn't do anything soon, he would be defeating his purpose of looking for another way to clean the poop. He concentrated. He thought of the sea. He drew on the power of his father that was within him. His eyes shot open. "Stop!" That certainly seemed to do the trick. The geysers shut down. Percy collapsed to his knees, reeling from the effort. He raised his head to see the aftermath of his little project. A clean stable stood in front of him, albeit with wet salty mud and around 50 horses that gleamed in the light of the setting sun. Percy sighed in relief. He had completed his task, but his demigod intuition was pinging like crazy. Something was telling him that something had absolutely gone wrong. Boom! An explosion rocked the ranch as another of Naruto's attacks had connected. It was a light show with chakra that he was expending in the fight, but the most frustrating thing, this particular monster was so persistent. Don't get me wrong, Naruto's attacks were hitting true, every single time. It's just that every time his attacks had connected, Jiren would just shrug it off and regenerate. Every single time. "Boy, what the hell am I paying you for?" Jiren barked to his second in command. "Come and help me get rid of this boy." "Do it yourself," Yurishin said as he lounged around a porch. Naruto almost lost his footing with what he heard. It is the most un-Aries-like thing to come from a child of Aries. He would never dream of Clarice or any of her siblings saying such things. It was just unheard of. "Why I oughta." Naruto capitalized on Jiren's distraction. He appeared right in front of him and delivered a Rasengan straight to his gut. The latter flew back screaming in pain at the intense burning sensation that the jutsu inflicted on him. Seeing that his attack momentarily incapacitated the monster, he immediately rushed off to his friend's side and moved to free them. "He won't die the conventional way," Annabeth told him as he moved to cut her restraints. "I've been stabbing him and throwing jutsu at him for hours." Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration. "How else am I going to kill him?" "Very good question, son of Artemis," Jiren said as he walked back to the battlefield, his wounds once again healed. "For you see, I have 3 hearts. The perfect backup system, don't you think?" Seeing the frustration in his opponent's eyes, he let out a chuckle and turned to the lazy son of Ares. "You're really not going to move a muscle? I'll deal with you once the children are dealt with." He turned back to Naruto and smirked. "It's futile to try and fight me. Why don't you just give up?" "If there's one thing you should know about me." Naruto rushed forward and met Jiren once again. "I never ever give up." Naruto was a blur as he attacked from all directions. Every stab and slice was doing damage, but not the lethal damage that he needed. "Hold still, will ya?" Jiren growled as he tried to swipe at the blonde, though his efforts were futile. "Now why would I do that?" Naruto appeared in front of him virtually unguarded. Jiren made a grab at him, but Naruto leaped on his hands and used them as a vault to jump in the air. In the air, a silver bow materialized in his hands, 3 arrows already notched. The 3 arrows fired. Jiren smirked. 2 of the arrows were off the mark and one of them even flew in the path of the other. There was no way that any of them would hit. "You know, for a son of Artemis, yo." He didn't even get to finish his sentence as an arrow impaled itself through his chest from the side. Naruto landed on the ground with such grace that his audience did a double take. It was like they were watching Lady Artemis herself. The smugness was wiped from Jiren's face. "I am possible, the shot, maybe you shouldn't have been so overconfident," was Naruto's cold reply. He watched with the same expression as the slain monster collapsed to his knees, his face turning a sickly shade of green. Jiren's form broke and began crumbling into sand, leaving only his cooking aprons and a pair of oversized aprons. He looked up to the sky and stared at the moon that was beginning to climb to the sky. "Ka-san, are you watching?" The moon seemed to glow brightly in response. Naruto returned it with a grin. At that moment, his friends swarmed him. "Naruto! That was great!" Annabeth praised. "You're like her," Grover said with so much awe that he was practically swooning. "Yay for Naruto!" Tyson clapped. Nico stood on the porch watching the scene. Before that ghost had found him, he would have acted like his usual jovial self, but now he had changed. A pang of guilt washed over him. If Bianca really was alive, then she wouldn't really want to see him like this. We're not done yet. Naruto looked at Yurishin warily. Sensing the eyes on him, the son of Ares sat up, his Kauba hat falling to his lap. Relax. He held up his hands in surrender. I won't fight. I owe you one though. Jiren always sends me to do his dirty work. I'm just glad that he's gone. Everyone relaxed. So, what are you gonna do now? Naruto asked. For years, I only tended the cows and fought Jiren's fights. Now, I don't know what to do. Maybe you could change things around here? Grover offered. Yurishin studied the goat. How? For starters, be nice to the animals, stop selling them for food. And more importantly, don't deal with the Titans, Annabeth suggested. The immortal son of Ares thought for a moment. That would be alright, I guess. Say, how long will it take for Jiren to reform? Naruto asked. Couple 100 years maybe? He guessed. That will give you time to get the animals on your side, the blonde said. And when Jiren reforms, the animals will be on your side, while he works for you for a change. Now that's something I can live with. The cowherd grinned. Naruto! Annabeth! Everyone! Percy came running to them with worry written on his face. Everyone turned to him. Yo Percy! Naruto greeted. I take it you cleaned the stables? Yes. Percy nodded. But what about you? Are you okay? What happened to Jiren? He's gone, Naruto answered with a grin. Percy exhaled. That's a relief. He noticed Nico on the side watching them. What about you? What will you do now? I don't know. Nico's voice faltered. Do you still not trust us? Naruto asked. Nico didn't answer, but his expression betrayed him. If you don't believe us, do you want to talk to her? Hope washed over the young boy's features. I. Naruto tossed him a golden drachma. All we need is some water. We have a hose out back. Yurishin offered. Okay. Nico relented. Nico gulped as Yurishin turned on the faucet and sprayed the water in the air. After hearing the first hearing of Bianca's death, he immediately believed the words. He felt her soul leave her body. And without anyone else to tell him otherwise, he immediately believed the voice. He acted entirely on impulse. Now, he will finally talk to Bianca after everything he did. Will she still accept him? Will she be mad? What would she think of what he's become? Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder, allowing him to gather the confidence. He started to chant, O Iris, goddess of the rainbow. Accept my offering. Show me Bianca D'Angelo.